Why are you following God? Why are you a Christian? What's the motivation? One of my favorite questions to ask people is, if heaven was not real and hell wasn't real, would you still follow God? I draw that question from the Sadducees. If you look in the New Testament, during the time of Jesus and the time of Paul, there were two groups of Jews that kind of dominated. There were the Pharisees and the Sadducees. And the Sadducees did not believe in the resurrection of the dead, angels. Essentially, they didn't believe in heaven or hell. They just followed God out of pure devotion to Him. So I ask you the question again, what's your motivation for following the Lord? Oftentimes throughout my life, it's been selfish motivation. I've been following God to get something from God. Maybe that's His blessing. Maybe that's His presence. Maybe it just tends to be around, I want something from God, therefore I'll do the things that He's commanded me to do so I can get something from God. That's pretty selfish. If I was in a friendship with someone and I said to them, honestly, the only reason I'm friends with you is so I can get free stuff from you. That's not a great friend on my part. But I think that's what we do throughout our life oftentimes. And one person that I want us to look at in the Bible today is Josiah. Now, Josiah was a king of Israel, and he was a king during the very end of the kings of Israel, before they were carried off into Babylon. To set the stage from you, the promised people of God the Israelites have come into the promised land. Israel, been living there for generations, and they kind of do this. They're following God, not following God, following God, not following God. And this is one of the rare times in history where they really devoted themselves to the Lord. In 2 Kings 22:2, it says, referring to Josiah, he did what was pleasing in the Lord's sight and followed the example of his ancestor David. He did not turn away from doing what is right. At other points, it describes him as a king that no one else was like. It says this, 2 Kings 24:25, never before had there been a king like Josiah who turned to the Lord with all his heart, soul, and strength, obeying the laws of Moses, and there has never been a king like him since. See, during Josiah's time, he comes in at 8 years old, which is pretty overwhelming to become king, and everyone around him is doing evil. The priests are doing evil, the other prophets are doing evil, the people are doing evil acts. They're worshiping the false gods, some of them are sacrificing their own children. So by 12 years old is what we learn in the book of Chronicles, Josiah began instituting religious reforms in Israel. And it goes through in 2 Kings and 2 Chronicles just the detail at which Josiah takes to destroy all of the false idols around Israel, from the very south end to the very north end. And why is he doing all of this? Because it looks like, if we want to take that metaphor for our life of being a good Christian, doing everything we can to eliminate sin, to eliminate all of the evil around us. I think Josiah did it at 12 years old because he really loved God. Jesus says that we should come to Him like a childlike faith. Yesterday I was sitting in church and watching a kid pray, and I was reminded of that verse, that is how I'm supposed to approach the throne of God as a child, not with someone with all this knowledge about a book, but with a heart that is in love with Jesus. But Josiah, here's what happened. It says that even so, Josiah did all this good. The Lord was very angry with Judah because of all the wicked things Manasseh, who was his father, had done to provoke him. For the Lord said, I will also banish Judah from my presence, just as I have banished Israel. And I will reject my chosen city of Jerusalem and the temple where my name was to be honored. It's pretty sad that even though Josiah did what was right, the Lord's judgment was still coming for Judah. And when we humble ourselves to say, Lord, not my will but yours be done, and I want to serve you out of love for you and not out of what you can give to me, I think it really changes our perspective of how we're supposed to be following Christ day in and day out. It's not about some legalistic reasons to get us out of hell. It's not about receiving some sort of blessing from God, but the purest reason that I want to follow God is simply because of His love for me, and therefore, by extension of that, my love for Him. Thanks so much for watching this video. If it helped you out, then please leave a like, because it really does help the channel, and I'll see you back here later as we continue to read through Scripture together.